The banana is the most eaten fresh fruit in America, and almost every single peel ends up in the trash within minutes of being opened. Meanwhile, in that same kitchen, a gardener walks past a $30 bag of potassium fertilizer at the garden center and pays good money for the exact nutrient they just threw in the bin. The peel you discarded this morning is one of the most potassium-rich things in your entire house. And 4 simple tricks turn that waste into stronger roots, heavier fruit, and a soil so full of living worms it starts feeding itself. The story does not begin in a laboratory. It begins in a swamp in the highlands of Papua New Guinea more than 7,000 years ago. At a site called Cook, archaeologists found drainage ditches, planting mounds, and the buried traces of intensively cultivated bananas. It is one of only a handful of places on Earth where human beings invented agriculture entirely on their own with no outside influence. UNESCO recognized it as a World Heritage Site for exactly that reason. Those farmers did not have a fertilizer aisle. They fed their soil with the plant itself, returning every scrap of organic residue to the ground that grew it. The knowledge of using a plant's own waste to build living soil is not new. It is one of the oldest ideas in farming. Then came the bag. In the early 20th century, plant nutrition stopped being something you build and became something you buy. Today, the global potash industry, the source of nearly all commercial potassium fertilizer, is worth more than $30 billion a year. It sells you a single soluble mineral salt mined from the ground and processed to dissolve fast. Perform once and wash straight through your soil with the next heavy rain. You buy potassium. The rain takes most of it. You buy more. A banana peel does the exact opposite. It releases slowly, feeds the biology in your soil, and leaves the ground richer than it found it. A growing stack of peer-reviewed research published between 2020 and 2026 now confirms what those first farmers understood by instinct. A 2024 review in the journal Agriculture analyzed dozens of banana peel fertilizer studies and concluded that the peels significantly improve soil nutrients and crop performance with dried and properly prepared peels outperforming raw ones by a wide margin. The science was never hidden. It was just less profitable than a bag. Here are the 4 banana peel tricks they never bothered to tell you about. Trick 1. Dried banana peel powder, the potassium concentrate. If you have ever grown a tomato plant that produced a jungle of beautiful green leaves and then handed you 3 tiny disappointing fruit, you have already met the problem this trick solves. That plant was not lazy. It was starving for potassium. Nitrogen builds leaves. Potassium builds everything you actually want to eat. It is the nutrient that moves sugars and water through the plant, sets flowers, fills out fruit, thickens stems, and arms the plant against drought and disease. When it runs short, the signs are unmistakable, and they are everywhere in home gardens. Leaf edges turn and then scorch brown as if singed. Flowering stalls, fruit comes in small, hollow, and weak. Potassium deficiency is one of the most common and most visible failures in any backyard, and a banana peel is one of the most potassium-rich answers to it that exists for free. Here is the part nobody explains. The trick is not the peel. The trick is drying it. A fresh banana peel is roughly 85% water, and that water dilutes everything. When you dry the peel completely and grind it, you remove the water and concentrate the potassium by about 5 times. Laboratory analysis puts the potash content of dried banana peel at over 11% by weight, which makes dried peel one of the richest organic free sources of potassium you can put your hands on in a kitchen. You should ignore the viral claim floating around the internet that banana peels carry an NPK of 0.2542, That number is nonsense, and your audience will know it. The real defensible truth is more than enough. Drying multiplies the potassium roughly 5-fold and turns garbage into a fertilizer concentrate. The research backs the result. A study published in the journal Agriculture documented dried banana peel improving the growth and yield of tomatoes. And a separate set of trials found banana peel fertilizer performing on par with commercial potassium chloride as a potassium source for eggplant. In peppers, researchers building a fertilizer from banana peel potassium reported growth and yield that beat both the untreated control and a standard chemical fertilizer. And as that powder breaks down in the soil, it does something the bag cannot. It feeds the microbes and the earthworms that turn dead dirt into living ground, which is where the richer soil in the title actually comes from. The execution is almost insultingly simple. Collect your peels, dry them until they are brittle and snap, either in a low oven, a dehydrator, or on a sunny windowsill over a few days. Grind them in a blender or coffee grinder into a coarse powder. Then sprinkle 1 to 2 TWSP around the base of each plant and scratch it lightly into the topsoil or work it into the bed before planting. Water it in. Here is the storage secret that almost nobody mentions. That dried powder keeps for 6 months or more in a sealed jar, so you can quietly stockpile potassium all winter long from the bananas your family eats, and then have a full jar ready the moment the growing season starts. Trick 2. Fermented banana peel water. The living inoculant. This is the trick with the strongest science behind it, and it is the one your most serious viewers will remember. To understand why it works, you have to understand why simply tossing a peel in the soil disappoints so many people. The potassium in a banana peel is locked inside plant tissue. Soaking a peel in plain water barely releases any of it, because potassium does not just leach out on its own. It has to be broken free by microbes and fungi. That single fact is why so much banana peel advice falls flat, and it is exactly the fact that makes this trick powerful. Fermentation unlocks the nutrient that soaking cannot. When you ferment banana peels, you do two things at once. You break down the tissue so the potassium and phosphorus actually become available, and you grow a thriving population of beneficial bacteria and yeasts in the process. What you pour onto your soil is no longer kitchen waste diluted in water. It is a living biological amendment, soluble nutrients, and active microbes in a single application. That is the conceptual upgrade. You stop thinking of yourself as someone watering down trash and start thinking of yourself as someone brewing a soil inoculant. The peer-reviewed results are consistent. Multiple controlled studies have found that banana peel fermented water increases root length, shoot length, leaf size, and overall vigor in tomatoes and other vegetables compared to untreated plants. Studies on eggplant, mustard, and pomelo report the same direction of effect, with fermented banana peel solutions improving plant height and fresh weight. And because you are pouring in live biology, the microbial bloom becomes food for the soil food web. Microbes feed protozoa. Protozoa and decomposing matter feed worms. And worms leave behind castings. You are not just fertilizing, you are stocking the soil with life. Here is how to make it. Chop a few peels and drop them into a jar. Cover them with water and stir in a heaping spoonful of sugar or molasses, which is fuel for the microbes. Rest a lid loosely on top so gases can escape, and leave it somewhere warm for 1 to 2 weeks, stirring when you remember. When it is ready, it should smell sweet and sour like a mild vinegar or yeast. If it smells genuinely rotten or foul, pour it out and start again. Strain the liquid, then dilute it heavily, roughly 1 part ferment to 5 or even 10 parts water, and pour it at the base of your plants. The reason this trick sits at number 2 and not number 1 is simple. It asks for patience and a few supplies. The powder works for everyone. The ferment rewards the gardeners willing to wait. Trick 3. Banana peels in the planting hole. The one-time deposit that feeds your tomatoes all summer. Every spring, gardeners everywhere perform the same ritual. They dig a hole, set in a young tomato, pepper, or rose, and backfill it. That hole is a once-a-year opportunity, and almost everyone wastes it. The first 6 to 8 weeks after transplanting are the single most important window in a plant's life. The stretch when its root system either establishes deep and strong or struggles. And that is the exact window a buried banana peel was made for. The mechanism is slow release, set and forget. Lay a peel or two in the bottom of the planting hole, cover it with a few inches of soil, and plant on top. As the peel breaks down over the following weeks, it delivers a steady trickle of potassium and phosphorus directly into the zone where new roots are reaching, right when they are reaching for it. There is no scattering, no reapplying, no schedule. You make a single deposit at planting time, and the soil pays it out all season. But the deeper payoff is the one that connects to the worms in the title. A buried peel becomes a decomposition hotspot, and decomposition hotspots are exactly what earthworms hunt for. They migrate toward the buried peel, tunnel through the surrounding soil, aerate it, and leave nutrient-dense castings clustered right around your plant's roots. You are not just feeding the plant. You are building a small underground engine of worm activity directly beneath it. One important detail keeps this clean. Bury the peel deep enough that there are a few inches of soil between it and the young roots, and chop it to speed things along. Early in its breakdown, a peel can briefly tie up a little nitrogen, and that buffer of soil keeps the effect away from tender roots while the worms and microbes do their work. The one honest limit of this trick is timing. It only works at the moment you transplant. If you are watching this in the middle of summer, you cannot deploy it today, but you can bank it for your next transplant, and your tomatoes next spring will thank you. Trick 4. The worm bin and the compost pile. Closing the loop. The first 3 tricks send the peel into your garden. This last one sends it through a worm, and it is where the whole system finally closes on itself. Banana peels are a documented feedstock for vermicomposting, the process where earthworms and microbes digest organic matter and excrete worm castings, the single richest soil amendment of them all. Feed peels to worms, and the worms hand you back black, biologically alive fertility that you can spread anywhere in the garden. But honesty matters here because this is the one trick where doing it wrong backfires. Banana peels decompose more slowly than fine, starchy, or ground materials. So, the microbial bloom they trigger is gentler, and the worms respond less dramatically than they would to something like coffee grounds. More importantly, research on the composting worm Eisenia fetida has found that fresh banana peels fed alone, and in large amounts can actually stress and harm the worms rather than help them. That is not a reason to skip the trick. It is a reason to do it correctly. Chop the peels small. Freeze and then thaw them first, which ruptures the cells and softens the tissue so they break down faster. Bury them in moderation under the bedding in one corner of the bin. Never more than your worms can clear in a few days. Done that way, studies show banana-fed worm systems growing well and producing more cocoons, which means more worms over time. That is the loop. More worms produce more castings. More castings build richer soil. Richer soil grows healthier plants, and the peels from the bananas those plants help you afford go right back to the worms. In an outdoor compost pile, the same rule applies. Mix the peels in with plenty of dry brown material like leaves or cardboard, and let the pile do slowly what the worm bin does quickly. This trick sits last not because it fails, but because it is the patient, quiet, system-closing one. The powder and the ferment are the headline. The worm bin is the foundation everything else is built on. But the knowledge survived. It never vanished into a corporate vault or a forgotten archive. From the farmers at Cook Swamp 7,000 years ago who fed their ground with the plants that grew on it, to university extension offices and peer-reviewed journals publishing trial after trial between 2020 and 2026, the same truth kept resurfacing. The fertility of soil is built by biology, by slow-release minerals, and by the worms and microbes that no bag of soluble salt can replace. The potash industry profits from a cycle of dependency where the nutrient you buy washes away, and you are sent back to buy it again. The banana peel quietly breaks that cycle for nothing. And these 4 tricks are not 4 separate hacks. They are one connected system. The dried powder delivers concentrated potassium. The fermented water adds living biology and soluble nutrients. The planting hole makes a slow deposit exactly where roots need it. And the worm bin turns the whole stream of waste back into the richest fertility of all, then hands it to you to start again. Each one makes the others work better. So, start this week and start simple. Stop throwing your peels away. Dry a batch and begin filling your powder jar. Set a ferment going in a quiet corner. Save a few peels for your next transplant. And feed a small chopped handful to your worms. The total cost of every trick in this video is 0, because the raw material is something you are about to throw in the trash anyway. Compare that to the bag that empties your wallet every spring and leaves your soil no better than it found it. If these secrets change the way you look at your kitchen waste, please subscribe and like the video. We are uncovering the natural wisdom that modern industry tried to bury. Let's grow a better future together. The next garden treasure will be revealed soon.